This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hello, I'm Kathy Worthington, welcoming you to our latest episode of Late Boomers. Today, our special guest is Sharon Fillmore, who's a registered nurse who has worked the emergency room and ICU. She's also a trained NLP coach, verbal Aikido Master and Trainer, and a certified coach. She's an expert on overcoming abuse.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Sharon is the author of the book, The Vital Link, 9 Ways to Have More Health, Wealth, and Happiness. She's passionate about transforming the dynamic of abuse that exists in so many families. We're going to ask her about the topics in the book, and we're looking forward to it. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I'm glad you made it. Tell us a little of your backstory and your journey to get to this place today.
All right. Well, as you know, I started out as a nurse, and I had 3 children, and they're all grown. And when I was when I was married, my former husband and I both came from families that were dysfunctional, and we knew that we didn't want to raise our children that way. So we both took courses on parenting, and we've raised 3 beautiful children that are all adults and happy and doing what they love to do today. So that's sort of the backstory of family. And what happened was, when my youngest one was 2, I took a self-improvement course and realized that I had work to do, and that the things that were haunting me were there for a good reason. And I started to learn more about myself. And actually, as my children grew, I just kept becoming a better person and doing more things that I loved. And when I was taking a program, I was helping the person next to me, and the person running the program, we were talking, and the person I was helping said, "You're a coach." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not a coach." And the person running the program said, "Oh, you're a coach." So she explained to me what a lifestyle coach was, and I realized that that's what I had done my whole life with my children and all of their friends. In our house, our house was always filled, particularly with teenagers when they were all teenagers. And they came to me with their problems because I didn't tell them what to do. I helped them make their own decisions. And I realized, so then I started taking coaching courses. And I also decided to become a verbal Aikido master. And that's a type of verbal communication. And it goes from having those easy conversations to those very difficult ones, or sometimes I call them the brave ones. And that's because I realized the thing that was really lacking in my marriage was good communication. Being a nurse and working in high-risk areas, I was really good at interviewing people. I realized I wasn't so good at really communicating on a really deep level with people that I loved. So that's how the story of becoming a verbal communication master.
Well, that's, I think a lot of families need that. And talk about family wellness, and why should we care about the whole family as a unit having wellness, being well?
Okay. We very often take wellness and we pull it apart, right? And we have like little boxes for each different kinds of wellness in your life. thing is, with a family is like a whole unit. And so family wellness encompasses not just nutrition, it encompasses being able to talk to one another, people understanding what their beliefs and values are, and knowing whether or not they want to, they particularly beliefs, whether or not they want to keep them or change them. You know, we all come from different backgrounds with different beliefs. When we get together, they don't always mesh. So it's about looking at those beliefs and saying, I want this to keep this one, I want to change this one. It's not that they're good or bad. It's just, do they service us now as a couple and as a family?
You seem so self-aware, though, in the beginning when you were taking classes, and now so many people aren't. How do you lead to that? How do you create awareness in people who may not know what their problems are?
Mm. Uh, Actually, I think education is probably one of the best things you can do for yourself is take a self-improvement course, take courses on what you want to do. If you have if you're getting married, or if you have a family, or if you just in a relationship, learn how a real relationship works, learn how a family works, and look at where you came from. Understand that, did you raise your children the way you were raised? Like, you
Mhm.
did. It doesn't work. I have grandparents very often come to my workshop because they're the ones that are looking after the families. And
Mhm.
what happens is, they know they can't raise their grandchildren the way they raise their children. It's a different world,
Mhm.
right? And our children are different, right?
Mhm.
And I mean,
Yeah, with all the issues with attention spans changing so rapidly, all of that's very scary stuff, isn't it?
it is. I mean, and it's one of the things that I teach people actually is how to be present. And I
Mm.
have little activities that helps you helps you as an individual, but also helps you as a family. And particularly, I have one that kids absolutely love, and then I have some that parents absolutely love. So it's being present. You're right. We have less and less attention span, and I know
Mhm.
that that's going to be a problem for young people in the future,
Mhm.
because no matter what you decide to do in your life, you have to focus on it. They say, uh, uh, where you focus is where your success is where you put your attention.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, as families, it's important to do that. Now,
I
the
wanted to
reason why.
ask you, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I
No.
wanted to ask you why is there an abuse dynamic in many families, and what can we do to transform that?
Okay. Uh, if you, it depends on how far you want to go. If you want to go back, the abuse dynamic actually started after the First World War because of the soldiers coming home with PTSD,
Mm.
and then
Oh.
and there was increased alcoholism, and then it was repeated again in the Second World War.
Huh.
Mhm.
Now, the dynamics of today is another really one that's really overlooked is being able to talk to each other and having good financial status. It doesn't mean you have to be rich. It just means you have to be able to pay your bills and feel comfortable. And what happens in a family is, when there's when you're always struggling, it can be difficult. The other thing that happens is, if you don't know how to talk to one another about the difficult things, then there's a misconception, miscommunication. And I'll just give you one example from my own life. So when I was going through our separation, that's when you have to really communicate. If you couldn't do it before, man, you got to learn now. And I
Mm.
remember my former husband was an executive, and what happened was, I took over all the jobs because I thought his life was too stressful. And you know what he said to me when we were separating? He said, "You did everything. You
Mm.
didn't allow me to do anything." So I, without realizing it, actually isolated him from the family.
Huh.
Oh. Yeah. And that's kind of
And
an abuse thing also. Like
all
he felt.
yes, what he felt exactly, because what happened was he wasn't part of the family because I was doing everything, and I was doing everything because I was trying to keep the stress out of his life. And
You were a good Samaritan, but you didn't realize that it wasn't such a good deed.
no, I didn't. Number one, I didn't ask,
Mm.
and he didn't tell me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if I had good communication skills at the time, and I treated him with respect and dignity, and he treated me with respect and dignity, we would have had a conversation. It would have been a completely different outcome. And you
Mm.
got to remember, we were married for almost 27 years. So I was finding that out, 15 years after the fact.
Yeah, way too
Yeah,
late,
too
right?
Way too
bad.
late.
And you just
Yeah.
both felt it wasn't repairable at that point.
At that point, yeah. So that's just sort of one incident. And that's what happens when we don't really focus on being able to communicate with one another, being
Mm-hmm.
able to tell each other what's really going on inside.
Can you give us one example as to what you can do to transform it?
There's a number of things that you can do. So it's understanding the individual. You can go online and you can find out what your love languages are.
Mm-hmm.
Like an example is if your love language is doing deeds and your spouse's love language is hugging, then, and you know that, then you can do deeds for him and he can hug you because and you have that understanding. It's just
Mm-hmm.
sort of one example of the things that you can do is understand each other's love language. Sit down and have those hard conversations. There's a few things that you can use. So when you're having the conversation, if it's something that is going to be like create some emotion, you can schedule it so that you can take some of the emotion out.
Hmm.
The other thing is what happens is how many times have you sat down to have a difficult conversation and you ended up talking about everything else but?
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Make a list and just put one or two things on the list and don't talk about anything else until you've discussed it.
Hmm.
Mm. That's a hard lesson.
It
It
is, but
is a
very good
hard lesson.
advice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So pivot a bit and tell us what the vital link is.
Okay. The Vital Link is so it's a combination of the 45 years I've had in healthcare, of all of the people that I work with as a nurse, people that I've taught, and all the coaching experience that I've learned. And I kind of put it together in a book. There's 9 chapters. 3 chapters are on communication. One is on just general communication. One is communicating with your significant other, and also it includes people in the workplace, and also communicating with your children. So there's that. There's one on nutrition, and it doesn't go into what you should eat. It goes into how to make that rainbow of food so that everyone is eating. How to identify if someone has food sensitivities or things that don't agree with them.
Hmm.
So there's those sorts of things. There's a little bit on getting started on a walking program so that you get a little bit of fitness in your life, but you're not doing something like, how we join a gym where you go once, like everybody goes in
Yes.
January.
Yep.
It's about finding ways of exercising that you can incorporate into your day. Like, parking at the back of the parking lot,
Mhm.
taking the bus to work and walking home. Those sorts of simple things that help you to really maintain your physical health, opposed to working out and living in spandex, which there's a little bit about that. I talk about beliefs and mindset. So
Hmm.
it's something that we all need to work on is our beliefs and mindset. So when you want something, you can have anything you want, anything. It doesn't matter who you are. It's about your mindset, setting your mind, believing it, and setting your beliefs so that you get it.
I
We've
love
had a
that.
lot of people talk to us about that.
We
I'm
have.
sure.
And to a little deviation from that for a second, how can you talk to your teenager in a way that they will listen?
Okay. That's fun. I love teenagers. Um,
You do?
I do. I know. I'm a little on the wild, crazy side when it comes to teenagers. I mean, think about teenagers. They have this, yes, they have like wide mood swings and, 1 minute they're on top of the world, the next minute they're at the bottom. And in between, they have so much joie de vivre. They have so much hope, so much potential. And then you listen to them, they have incredible ideas. They just don't know how to put them together. And so
Mm-hmm.
so it's about number one, you treat everyone with dignity and respect. It doesn't matter whether you're angry, whether you're upset. It's that person. If you treat someone with dignity, they feel worthy. If you treat someone with respect, they can say anything to you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's those are the foundation. And then there's certain things you can say. Like an example is if you use the word most, like what did you like the most at school today? What was the most fun at your practice? Those you're more likely going to get an answer.
Yeah, if you just say,
Uh,
how was
That's
it? They say,
great.
yeah, they
They,
say,
they're-
yeah, like,
they don't
yeah,
answer you.
they don't answer you. Another thing, when you're having a conversation, when people are talking, a couple things might happen, especially with teens. They're starting to tell you something. They stop in the middle of the sentence. There's a few things going on there. One is they might have forgotten, but most likely they're determining whether or not they should tell you. So if you use
Right.
the two words "and so,"
Ah,
And
it
so,
spurs them to start that conversation. It's like
good tip.
they're very simple. Um, the other thing that's really important is silence. It's important that you let them finish what they're saying.
Yeah.
I'll just give you an example. When my son was 10, he threw some balls up on top of the school. And of course, he ended up in the principal's office, and I was called in too. And I was sitting behind him, and the principal says, "So, Scott," oh, sorry, I shouldn't say something. "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, I was talking to the janitor, and the janitor said that he was having a quiet day today. And I thought maybe it would be fun for him if he could climb up on the roof and get the balls down and throw the balls down. And I would be able to catch them. So it'd be fun for me too." So in his mind, it was a win-win situation.
sounds like
Love
it.
it.
It
Love it.
sounds like it. So, and the thing is, partway through that, when he said about throwing them up, I went to do something, and the principal goes, like, puts his hands up and goes, wait, this will be good. And it was. I mean, I had such a hard time not laughing. And the principal
Mhm.
just looked at him and said, "Well, what if he had fallen off the ladder or slipped on the roof?" And my son goes, "Oh, I didn't think of that." And the principal said, "So what do you think you should do?" He says, "I think I should say sorry." And he coached him through the whole process. And I learned very quickly that button it up and give yourself that matter of fact look, so that no matter what they say, you're screaming on the inside, but your face is very calm and straight. And they will tell you everything in a short period of time. And you'll
You were
get
lucky to get such a good principal for your
I
school.
was
Yeah.
very lucky. I was
That's
very lucky.
really amazing. They don't usually do that.
Yeah, no, he was amazing. And I remember saying to him after, is this normal? He goes, "Oh, this is 10-year-old boy stuff." Yeah. Like there was no malice in what he did, even though outwardly it seemed like there was, you know, there
Mhm.
was no, he thought this was a win-win situation. The
Yeah,
custodian was going to have fun, and so was he.
Mhm.
exactly. It makes a lot of sense.
It makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. And so if you let them speak, they will tell you everything. You'll understand the rationale. And then once you understand, then you can redirect. Right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's a
So
great point. Tell us what a family mentor is and why anyone needs one. You sound like
Okay,
you are one.
thank you. A mentor is somebody that's been there and has experience in what you're doing, and also background knowledge and education to help out. My focus is to help families to find the peace, harmony, and joy within their home.
Mm.
And so that, parents are excited to get home and kids feel that that's safe and they can tell you anything. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that they feel that they can do that, because in our world there's so much going on. There's bullying online, there's bullying offline, there's all kinds of different drugs coming out every day. There's and then they don't have the ability sometimes to make the decisions, although if you help them they will make the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have very often work with, to be honest, it's mostly the moms that I work with. And very often they're working moms because they're looking for ways. They don't always have as much time. So they're looking for ways to really affect their family and enjoy their
Mm-hmm.
family. Because if it's all work and dealing with problems, it isn't any fun.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So if it's like great family time, and when you're home and you're present, so even if you only have 1 hour with your child, if you're present in the moment and you're both treating each other well, you're going to, in the years ahead, your children are going to say, I had great parents.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to write your book, The Vital Link? 9 Ways to Have More Health, Wealth, and Happiness.
Why?
Yeah.
I had always wanted to be a writer since I was young. I used to write
Oh.
short stories all the time. And it was one of those things. I was invited to go to a book boot camp. So I went, and
Oh.
they asked me, what would you like to write a book on? And I said, actually, I would like to help people. I've spent my whole life helping people. And I believe that if I can write a book that encompasses all the things that a family or a person needs to have vitality in all the areas of their life, then I could help make a difference in people's worlds. And
Mm.
that's kind of how the book started. And
Mm.
so I sat down and I did lots of research, and I used so much of my own experience, because by the time I wrote the book, I was already, in my 50s. So
But
it
you
was,
had a writing process where you did so much per day, or how did you come to finish that?
you're going to laugh.
How long did it take?
Well, the reality is it took
A
4 years to
lifetime.
write the
Four
lifetime.
years?
4 years. So now people will say it took you 4 years to write the book, but the reality is it took me 3.5 years to work through all of the stuff I had in the way.
Mm.
And
Ah.
I actually hired a coach to help me work through all the blocks and things that I believed
Really?
that were stopping me. I had all the information. I just couldn't get past that. But the actual writing of the book only took less than 6 months, because it was
Wow.
at least a month before it was published. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really about, if you could write a book, it's the best thing you could do for yourself, because you have to really look internally. And it's important you help yourself by helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful journey.
What was
Wow.
blocking you?
I will tell you, I had a learning disability, and
Oh.
I felt that because my spelling and grammar were terrible, that I couldn't write the book.
Mm.
And that
Oh.
was my main block. And then I hired a coach to help me work through my blocks. And she looked at me and she said, why are you worried about that? That's your editor's problem. That's not your problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I went, I had never thought of that. That was the shining light that got me through.
Mm-hmm. Good idea to get the coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a wonderful idea. Did you self-publish it or did you have a publisher?
I had a publisher, and it's uh, the idea is it's self-published. However, they actually do all the work. You just really write the book. They teach you how to write the book, and then I wrote the book, and they edited it and published it for me.
Oh, good for
Great.
you. That's great. I'm looking forward to reading it. It sounds like something we could all read, no matter what our blocks are and what we need and whatever
It
our
is. So,
family dynamics are.
mhm.
Um,
I set the book up in a way so that if you're looking for something, say on happiness, you can go to that chapter and you can get information on it. And it includes things like how to increase your serotonin, endorphin levels, and activities that are fun to do. All kinds of things that will, like each chapter is set up that way so that you have a choice. If you want, you can read the whole book, or if you want, you can just go to what you need at this moment and you can
Mm-hmm.
find something that'll help you.
Perfect
Great.
for these times when everybody has so much going on. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
great idea. And I hear that people call you the Mary Poppins of family wellness.
Yes, they do.
What is that all about?
That's a friend that coined that term because she said you're always helping families. You're always looking for people to help. And she said, you find a problem. If you don't know how to solve it, you go figure it out how to solve it. And then you come back and help people. And that's basically why I got called the Mary
That,
Poppins. And
that's so funny because I always say when things are so crazy in the world and so much chaos is going on, I always say, just bring me Mary Poppins.
Poppins. The
And a
idea is
spoonful of sugar.
sugar.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, now I'm
Exactly.
going to say, just bring me Sharon Fillmore.
I'll be happy to come.
And tell us, Sharon, why is sleep so important?
Okay. Sleep is the foundation of everything. When you sleep well, your mind works well, your body works well, your creativity is at your highest levels. When you don't sleep, your brain craves instant energy, so it craves carbs, simple carbs, which we know really affect your health. Right, in the long run, it can cause multiple of diseases, and your mind is foggy. You have difficulty completing tasks. It increases your potential for depression, increases your potential for all kinds of problems like that will end up causing you shorten your lifespan in the long run.
Hmm.
So, and then there's the people that have sleep apnea. People with sleep apnea
Mm-hmm.
have an even greater difficulty sleeping, and they have even more potential for health risks. There's a higher risk of dementia. There's a higher risk of of type 2 diabetes. There's a higher risk of what we call right-sided heart failure. So when people come to me and they have sleep issues, one of the first things I say is, have you had a sleep study done? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you have a sleep study done, we're still going to work with you, but it's a little bit different. Now, if you come to me and we're talking and I discover that you have really high stress levels, I'm going to teach you how to manage your stress.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if it's food, like an example is alcohol. Really, people think, oh, I'll have a drink, it helps me sleep. What it does is it takes away your deep sleep. And so what happens is over time, that's really important for your health. And it's also really effective. So have you ever noticed if you go out and you have a few drinks the next morning, you're more tired, even if you were in bed longer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it prevents you from having a good quality of sleep.
Yeah.
So the study says 6 hours before you go to bed, you shouldn't have a drink, which means that we're all becoming day drinkers. Uh,
Yeah.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
Drink all the way from like 11 in the morning till like 6, and then don't go to bed till midnight.
yeah,
That's your spoonful of
exactly.
sugar.
Sugar. So, so the thing is, we're all individuals, so we
Yeah.
all will affect differently. So that's what the study is showing. However, for some people, it's not going to affect them. It's going to be 4 hours or 3 hours or even 2 hours. It really depends. It's
Mm-hmm.
about I help you to sort out and figure out what works for you.
Mhm.
What foods will affect you. For some people, if they eat high protein before they go to bed, it takes a lot of work to digest, so you don't sleep well.
Mhm.
And for other people, if they eat high carb before they go to bed, it gives them energy, so they keep waking up all night. Well,
Mhm.
it's working with you and what works for you. So
Great.
Sounds very logical. You had some great advice about how to talk to teenagers. How do you teach people to talk to their spouses and their parents? And can you give us a few more guidelines?
okay, when you're talking to your parents, it's about thinking about where they came from. It's every person, no matter who they are, you're looking for like their verbal cues, like their tone of voice, the types of words that they use. It's always good to use the same words back. So
Oh,
there's an understanding when you're talking to parents, because they may not fully have full understanding of the verbiage that, say, a 20-year-old is using now.
it's
And
true.
Mhm.
Such as,
such as, let's look, colloquialisms, sort of like, uh, um, what is the saying that used to say all the time? Uh, yeah, you made your bed, you sleep in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
hang on. Yeah. So most young people wouldn't understand what that means. They'd be going like,
No.
yeah, they wouldn't understand that. However, your parents understand that. So it's
Mhm.
using those sorts of words. Some of the young people will use, I'm trying to think of some of the words that are new. Uh,
Yeah,
and
the new slang,
the new
Gen Z.
slangs, the new
The Gen
slangs of the
Z,
Gen Z, like
Mhm.
they really got a lot of new slang. They're creating
they do
slang like crazy.
they do.
Mhm.
I'm always asking my children are all in their early to mid 30s now, and I will always ask them, "What does this mean?" And sometimes they don't know.
Yeah.
No, the millennials don't
Yeah.
understand the Gen
Yeah.
Z people at all.
So it's understanding where they're coming from and using the
Mhm.
language that they would
Mhm.
use. So it's whether you're talking to your teen or your parent, it's understanding the language that they use.
And what
But
about your spouse?
your spouse, all right. When you're talking to your spouse, there's some things to think about. So men and women's minds think differently. So men
Ah,
and
I
it,
hadn't noticed.
you had noticed. So
Yeah.
so an example, as just an example, would be men like to get to the point. They don't
Mhm.
really like the story. Women love the story.
Mm.
So when you want to talk to your spouse who's male, and they're going to come in and you're going to say, "Honey, I had a terrible day. Do you have time to let me tell you about it?"
Mhm. Good idea.
And they're going to say yes or no. And if they say, "I'm not up to it right now," just say, "Can we do it after dinner?" Because then you're actually setting an appointment with them.
Mm.
And then at that point, they will be ready to hear what you have to say. And then you say, "No, so and so did this. Can I tell you?" And then you say, "So and so did this, and this is what happened beforehand." So that because they want to know the point, and men are always trying to help you fix it. So
Mm.
the next statement to say is, "You just need to tell someone. I don't need you to fix. I don't want you to fix it."
Mhm.
And then
Mm.
that calms them right down. Right. And so for men, when they're talking to a woman, it's understanding that they want the story. It's sort of like, "Honey, you're not going to believe the day I had. This and this happened, which resulted in this." And then you're hearing the story. And women are always want to hear it. And if they don't have time at that moment, they'll say, "Honey, I can't do it right now. Can we do it later?"
Mhm.
Whereas, generally that's what will happen. So it's thinking about how each person wants their information and providing
Mhm.
the information in that way.
Mm.
So,
Excellent point. What
Excellent.
Sharon, what would you like our audience to have as a takeaway today?
as a takeaway today, um,
Mhm.
a takeaway today is be kind to yourself and be kind to the people around you.
Mhm.
Kindness If you scatter kindness, it will grow and it'll flourish.
I
Like
love it.
seeds.
Like seeds, exactly.
Great. I love it.
That's beautiful, Sharon.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're
Our
very
guest
welcome.
today on Late Boomers has been Sharon Fillmore, author of the book The Vital Link: 9 Ways to Have More Health, Wealth, and Happiness, which we all need. She's also a certified coach, helping people change the dynamics of abuse, no matter what kind of abuse, verbal or family abuse passed down. You can contact her for a complimentary 30-minute call and solve one family-related problem on the call at calendly.com/the vital link mentor. Thank you so much again, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Sharon, do you want to tell our listeners a little bit about the one sheet that you can send them if they
Oh, yeah.
contact you?
Yes, if you contact me, I have a one sheet. It gives you some tips on how to have a great sleep, and how to get started on having that waking up in the morning feeling vital and rested and ready for an amazing day.
Great. Thanks, Sharon. We want to thank our listeners also for subscribing to our podcast and checking us out on YouTube and recommending us to your friends. We appreciate you. We'd love to have you give us a 5-star review. And we want to hear about your experiences with our Late Boomers podcast and what gets you inspired. We are on Instagram at I am Kathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. Thank you for listening. And thanks again, Sharon.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here.
Great to have you.
Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.